This week on BuzzFeed Unsolved, we look into one of the most famous and tragic losses of the 20th century, the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. Now, before we get into this case, I want to say that while this is one of the most requested cases on Unsolved, it's still very much solved. However, since Princess Diana was such a beloved figure and continues to be today, some maintain suspicions surrounding the circumstances of her death. So today, we're going to look into some of those circumstances to see if any merit a closer look.
You better tread lightly here, buddy. Otherwise, they're not going to let you back in to that old foggy town they call London.
Is that a threat?
I think so. I'm speaking on behalf of England here. I think that's fair for me to do. She had her own Beanie Baby, so watch your mouth.
Hear me out here. I'm speaking on behalf of Batman and Robin, and I'm gonna tell you right now that the boys don't respond well to threats.
You're gonna beat me up because I told you shouldn't slander Diana, Princess of Wales?
Yes.
Okay, that's a choice.
Let's get into this.
Okay.
The Honorable Diana Frances Spencer was born in Norfolk, England on July 1st, 1961. The youngest daughter of then Viscount and Viscountess Althorpe, and therefore a member of the British aristocracy, the Honorable Diana became Lady Diana when her father inherited the earldom in 1975. Lady Diana attended boarding school in Kent, then finishing school in Switzerland until 1978. Afterward, Lady Diana moved into an apartment in London with some friends, going on to work as a kindergarten teacher at the Young England School.
Must be fun to be a young, sexy person in London. Huh?
You're not referring to us in London, right?
No, there was nothing beautiful about what happened to us in London.
Also interesting that she was obviously an aristocrat. She was wealthy, had a title, and yet still living in an apartment with pals and a kindergarten teacher.
In one of the most expensive cities in the world.
That is true. That is true. But a kindergarten teacher nonetheless.
True, yeah. Noble.
The Spencer family had known the royal family for years, as they were neighbors in Norfolk. However, Diana and her future husband, Prince Charles, didn't get to know each other until November 1977. Lady Diana's sister, Lady Sarah, who had dated the prince on and off for a while, invited Charles to a weekend with her family. At the time, Lady Diana was 16 and Charles was 29.
Weirdness about the age difference aside, obviously
the age difference?
16 and 29. Obviously they have not maybe done something here. It is a red flag if they have. Either way, one of the things to talk about there is, do you think you could date somebody and not work, it doesn't work out, and then you just move on to the sister?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I could. That's strange.
What if you were dating them and you're like, man, this sister actually is the correct incarnation?
I thought you were going to say, like, man, that sister's actually smoking hot.
That too. It's just a weird thing to do.
Well, he's a royal. He's like, yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever I want.
That's true.
He doesn't think about people's feelings.
That's
He's
fair.
a royal.
That's fair.
Charles invited the two Spencer sisters to his 30th birthday in 1978, and the relationship between Lady Diana and the prince grew. On February 24th, 1981, it was announced the couple was engaged. 5 months later, on July 29th, 1981, the same month Diana turned 20, they were wed. Before their wedding, Diana could recall only having met with her husband 13 times. Less than a year later, Diana gave birth to Prince William, with Prince Harry following a little more than 2 years after that. While suddenly being thrust into princessdom is a lot to handle, especially for a 20-year-old with no princess experience, the royal family was reportedly relieved to have some youth in the mix to help revitalize their stodgy public image. Princess Diana was adored by the public, famously given the nickname the People's Princess by former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. She used her popularity to advocate and raise awareness for causes ranging from leprosy to domestic violence, from mental health to the AIDS crisis.
I'm really glad we're past that whole leprosy kind of thing.
Leprosy? Not good.
That's a biblical thing.
Got to put you on an island.
Yeah, could you imagine that?
I mean, doesn't sound half bad, honestly. The part where your skin falls off.
Yeah, that sounds
not
pretty
good.
bad. It's like
Sloughing, never fun.
No, not great. I'm glad
Living
we're
on
past
an
that.
island with a bunch of your pals who are also sick. Pretty cool.
You're just describing a Saturday night at your apartment.
Her constant display of compassion meant she was able to capture the adoration of the public, in stark contrast to what was actually happening behind closed doors within the royal family. In a 1995 interview with the BBC, Princess Diana explained that, quote, "Anything good I ever did, nobody ever said a thing. Never said, well done, or was it okay? But if I tripped up, which invariably I did because I was new at the game, a ton of bricks came down on me." End quote. According to former royal correspondent for The Guardian, Stephen Bates, quote, "There was an air of desperation about the marriage. The fact they scarcely knew each other was a big problem, because the royals were so desperate to seize this potential asset that they didn't question whether she was up to the immense pressure she was going to get." End quote. Queen Elizabeth II reportedly thought Diana would find adjusting to royal life relatively easy, as she had grown up in privilege. This, however, was not the case. Diana had gone from living in an apartment with friends to living in Buckingham Palace practically overnight, and the change was drastic and isolating. Between exercising and working on wedding plans, Diana spent most of her post-engagement days sitting around, bored and alone, the isolation contributing to a decline in her mental health. Soon after moving into Buckingham Palace, Diana began to struggle with bulimia. She publicly spoke about the eating disorder in an interview with the BBC in 1995, saying, quote, "You inflict it upon yourself because your self-esteem is at a low ebb, and you don't think you're worthy or valuable." End quote.
I mean, her whole situation was miserable. She seemed isolated and alone, which is already an issue. Like, I think these royals sort of live in a fish tank anyway, so as ghoulish as some of them seem, it's like, well, you know, their entire environment is awful.
When you're in the public eye under intense scrutiny every second of the day, and you don't have anybody in your corner behind the scenes.
Yeah, she doesn't even have any allies within the house.
So you're just isolated. I could totally see how that would lead you down a dark path. It also shows that when it comes to things like eating disorders, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how high or low you are on the totem pole of life, I suppose.
Yes.
And it's sad to see.
To the public, Diana's struggles were largely invisible. Everyone wanted to believe in a perfect royal love story. So they did. On Diana's wedding day, hundreds of thousands of well-wishers lined the route from Buckingham Palace to the cathedral, hoping to catch a glimpse of the royal couple. The Archbishop of Canterbury commented that the wedding was, quote, "the stuff of which fairy tales are made," end quote. Meanwhile, Diana was suffering in private.
That guy was really reaching for a descriptor there. Wow, you really dug deep for that one. Wow, a prince and a princess got married. It's the stuff of fairy tales.
Yeah, he really
is it?
went deep in his bag for that bad boy.
Making matters worse for the princess, the one person she would have obviously looked to for help inside the palace, Prince Charles, was proving to be less than adequate company. According to the princess, her disordered eating began to develop after Charles placed his hand on her waist and remarked, quote, "A bit chubby here, aren't we?" End quote.
Chuck? Chuck sucks.
Do not do that, ever.
In a post-engagement interview, Prince Charles explained that he, quote, gradually realized he would ask Diana to be his wife, and when asked if they were in love, Charles replied, quote, "Whatever in love means," end quote.
Again, I get that he's, doesn't have the greatest living situation. I'm sure things were equally difficult for him. Well, no, fuck him. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
He can go fuck himself.
Whatever Charles believed love to mean, he was apparently experiencing it with another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles. According to Diana's taped interviews with Andrew Morden, Camilla and Charles had dated in the early 70s, but the royal family discouraged the prince from marrying her due to her less than sterling reputation, lack of family title, and love of another man. Nevertheless, their romantic relationship continued behind closed doors. When Charles and Diana were married, the prince's relationship with Camilla was put on hold, though Camilla's influence over Charles continued. Shortly before her wedding, Diana found a personalized bracelet her fiancé had purchased for Camilla. Throughout her honeymoon, her new husband wore cufflinks given to him by his paramour. Diana later reported that during this time, her bulimia was horrible, and she would make herself sick just 2 minutes after eating anything. By 1986, it's believed that Charles had fully resumed his relationship with Camilla. A taped phone call from 1989 was later leaked to the press in which Charles told Camilla he wished he, quote, lived in her knickers, end quote.
Now, aside from the fact that obviously he's not a great guy for cheating on his wife.
Yeah, it's just gross. Just
British pillow talk. Lived in her knickers.
Vile.
Could you imagine someone whispering that to you and then not crawling out of your skin?
Oh, I wish I lived in your knickers.
And I'd be like,
excuse me? Is he imagining like a Stuart Little situation?
I don't know. It seems like it would be a hot place to live.
This is a true crime show.
Yeah.
We're on season 8. That's the most disgusting, off-putting thing I've ever heard.
Call me sick and perverse, but I would like to hear more British sayings that they say to each other when it's like
try them off in the
heat of
comments.
the moment.
Yeah.
Disgust me.
I mean, usually it's just like, oh, I'm well chuffed.
Do I make you randy? Do I?
I wish I lived in your knickers, baby, yeah!
That same year, Diana confronted Camilla. Camilla reportedly stood her ground, telling Diana, quote, you've got everything you ever wanted. All the men in the world fall in love with you, and you've got 2 beautiful children. What more do you want? End quote. Reportedly, Diana famously responded, quote, I want my husband, end quote. Years later, while speaking with the BBC, an interviewer asked how she coped with everything. Diana said she cried a lot and often, using her bulimia as a way to relieve some of the pressure. She also revealed she was so depressed that she at one point tried to kill herself. Stuck in a very public yet very unhappy marriage, Princess Diana began a relationship with Captain James Hewitt of the Queen's Household Cavalry. By the late 80s, Diana and Charles's marital problems became public knowledge, and in December 1992, the Prime Minister announced the couple's amicable separation to the House of Commons. Charles and Diana officially divorced in August 1996.
I'm happy for her. I'm happy that she took a second shot at life to actually find some happiness. Maybe her son right now is taking a cue from her by leaving. Good for her.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
A year after the divorce, Diana was on vacation in France with her partner, Dodi Al-Fayed, who, according to The Independent, Diana had met in 1986 when he was playing in a polo match against her then-husband, Prince Charles.
That's a good sick burn.
Yeah, it is.
Nice way to rub that in.
Should have been better at polo.
Yeah.
What was I supposed to do? Date a loser?
It's cool. I like that.
Could you imagine if I was like in a one-on-one situation and Mari told me, you're going to play one-on-one with this guy, and if you lose to him, I'm breaking up with you. I'm breaking up with you, and I'm going to go with Chad.
I don't think that's the arrangement that they had, but I would love it if that was the case, yeah.
Shortly after midnight on Sunday, August 31st, Al-Fayed and Diana, along with bodyguard Trevor Reese Jones, left the Ritz Hotel in Paris. Al-Fayed's father owned the hotel, and the head of security there, Henry Paul, was driving the group in a Mercedes-Benz, presumably to Al-Fayed's Paris estate. While approaching the entrance to a bridge, Paul lost control of the vehicle while being chased by paparazzi, reportedly driving 70 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. The Mercedes slammed into a pillar in the center of the highway. Diana, Al-Fayed, and Paul were not wearing seatbelts. Paul and Al-Fayed were pronounced dead at the scene, while Diana and Reese Jones were taken to the hospital. Many paparazzi who had been chasing the car chose to photograph the wreckage instead of trying to help the victims. Reese Jones survived, but Diana's injuries proved to be more severe. The prince.
If I could make it to be, if by some craziness I end up becoming world famous, I would just I would not be afraid to open carry around paparazzi. If they decide to F around, they're gonna find out.
Was suffering from a concussion, a broken arm, a cut thigh, and massive chest injuries. Doctors operated for 2 hours, but could not get the princess's heart to beat properly. Princess Diana passed away from internal bleeding the morning of August 31st. She was 36 years old and survived by her 2 sons, Prince William, age 15, and Prince Harry, age 12. On September 6, 1997, 2.5 billion people, that's billion with a B, tuned in to watch the funeral procession for Princess Diana, one of the largest non-sporting television audiences ever. In the wake of her death, as can happen when the world struggles to come to terms with an unspeakable tragedy, conspiracy theories began to gain steam. Largely, thanks to their publication in the Daily Express, rumors suggesting someone intentionally killed the princess swirled. In response, the Metropolitan Police launched Operation Paget to determine if any might have truth to them. Eventually, Operation Paget examined 175 theories. While we can't look into all 175 theories, it's time to check out some of the most prevalent theories surrounding the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. Our first theory is that the driver, Henry Paul, was paid by security forces in either France or the UK to intentionally crash the car.
I got bullshit
This
on
comes
this.
from reports that Paul seemingly had much more money than his salary could explain. Despite making only $35,000 a year, Paul had nearly $250,000 in his bank account and a significant amount of cash on him at the time of his death.
Again,
The physical evidence, however, points not to malice, but recklessness. The day after the crash, French authorities announced Paul's blood alcohol level was 3 times the
drunk
legal
driving,
limit, implying it was drunk driving, not an intended assassination that caused the crash. Conspiracy theorists tried to argue that Paul's body was swapped out with a drunk person to give the crash some cover. Skeptics also point to reports that no one saw Paul acting drunk, despite the large amount of alcohol in his system.
Sounds like he was drunk.
Sure sounds like he was drunk. I gotta say, it seems like a very an Olympic stretch, if you ask me, to think, yeah, let's intentionally crash this car while making myself drunk. I'll fly through the window, but I'm gonna survive.
I'll be fine.
I'll be okay.
Hey, we'll pay you a lot of money to die. Sounds good. It's heaven bucks?
Yeah. Could I redeem these in the afterlife?
People can be
You're going
too
to
drunk.
heaven.
Like they say, like don't drive when you're buzzed. When you're even buzzed, the thought of getting behind a wheel, having had like a drop of alcohol, has always terrified me.
That's true.
Yeah.
So for a person to be even buzzed and getting behind the wheel, very bad. Don't do that. Don't do it. But I'm saying that like someone who doesn't appear outwardly like, whoa, I'm blasted.
Yeah.
They're still impaired and they could still
Yeah.
drive terribly.
Do you know who's a poor judge of whether or not someone's drunk? People who are drunk at a party.
Yeah,
Exactly.
also true. Oh, good point.
Kind of like the Haley Joel Osment thing. It's the crazy thing about dead people, they don't know they're dead.
Oh,
Kind of thing.
sure, sure.
Our second conspiracy theory is that Diana was killed by the
No.
British state because she was supposedly pregnant with
No.
Al Fayed's child. This theory is spearheaded
Okay, if she was pregnant with this kid, that would make that kid in line for royal succession. That would just give Harry and William a half sibling.
by Al Fayed's father, Mohammed Al Fayed, who in 2008 told the British Royal Courts of Justice why he was convinced of this narrative. Mohammed argues that the royal family would never accept the idea of Dodi, an Egyptian Muslim, possibly being the stepfather of the eventual King of England, and thus plotted
That's
to
a
kill Diana,
non-issue.
and therefore the alleged half-sibling to the princes gestating inside her.
Now, for this to be true, the royal family would have to be racist.
Yes.
I mean, they are racist.
They would have to have blood on their hands.
Yes.
Interesting.
I don't think
I
they
don't
have one
know.
in their hands in a
It's
while.
pretty tall order to believe that one. And this is, look, hey, America, are we without sin? No.
I mean, that'd be the ones who's
Anyone who's that high up
to murder
in
someone.
a national level, you know, either directly or indirectly, they're murderers.
Okay, I don't know if you could say that. But yes, you kind
I mean,
of.
like, the older they are.
They've got bones all over the globe.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Do I think they put out a hit on her?
No.
Seems like I don't think so.
In the weeks before her death, some newspapers actually began to speculate that Diana was pregnant, especially after the princess made comments about a, quote, big surprise. Casting doubt on this theory, however, is the fact that Diana was not pregnant.
Could have been a false
Her
positive on a pregnancy
post-mortem
test.
examination and further blood tests
Or a marriage
all
announcement.
concluded Diana was not pregnant, and people close to the princess note that her menstrual cycle was normal at the time, she was using contraception, and she had never mentioned a pregnancy to anyone.
I will say that I have a lot of very close Egyptian friends, and they have also said that when they found out that I was going to do this episode, they said that the Egyptian community at large does very much believe that the royal family did not like Diana dating an Egyptian man,
That was probably true.
which is not hard to believe.
Not hard to believe at all.
CBH.
Fully justifiable opinion
I agree with that.
based on facts and, you know, not saying, hey, they for sure killed her.
But they are for sure racist.
The motivations are certainly there.
Yeah, because if she marries him, now they have to bring him into the house, the big
No,
house.
they don't
and,
have to.
That's, I guess, a no-go.
She doesn't
So,
want to go into the
the
big
royal
house.
family recently married a person of color. How did that go?
we could look into that.
Racistly.
I can have my
Yeah,
team look into that.
I'd love the details on that.
Another theory surrounding the princess's death is that her medical care was intentional.
Like, there were talks to members of the royal family who are being racist, and people are like, oh my god, what color is the baby gonna be? And I'm like, oh my god, shut the hell up. There is evidence that she is also related to the British royal family, so why are they complaining about? The inbreeding is still happening.
Sabotaged. This theory took root after reports emerged that Diana was treated at the scene by emergency crews before being transported to a hospital. Had she been taken to a hospital before treatment began, skeptics argue, perhaps she could have been saved. This theory appears rooted in differences between UK and French emergency protocols. While the UK prioritizes getting injured victims to a hospital as quickly as possible, French emergency crews are trained to give treatment on the scene before
I mean, that's just what
transporting a
they're trying
person
to
to
do.
the hospital. This theory would also require a large amount of expert doctors and caregivers to break their ethical vows, as well as lying
They ain't gonna
about
do
doing
that
so.
unless they're psychos.
Most doctors also agree that no matter the treatment, it would have been practically impossible for Diana to survive her injuries. In 2019, Britain's top forensic pathologist, Dr. Richard Shepherd, revealed that the final cause of Diana's death was a badly placed tear in a vein in her lung. According to Dr. Shepherd,
like an artery
quote,
or some
her
shit?
specific injury is so rare that in my entire career, I don't believe I've seen another. End quote.
I guess conspiracy theorists are pointing to the idea that if she had been taken to the hospital,
How would they
she
stop
could have
that
survived,
bleeding?
but they, I guess, intentionally treated her on the scene to prevent that from happening, which is wild.
It's worth taking the word of conspiracy theorists over doctors. I
yeah,
think.
especially when this
Many people in America also believe that.
that is true. Have you been on Twitter? Dr. Shepherd,
Twitter's
by the
successful
way,
now. Scratchies are back.
did say that it was incredibly rare, and that also, as unfortunate as it was, it could have been prevented had she just been wearing a seatbelt.
I mean, a good takeaway.
By the way, she wasn't wearing a seatbelt because she was trying to duck the paparazzi at the time.
Our final
I would've just
conspiracy
listened
theory
I would've just been
is the
pooping at the
only one
paparazzi.
that has a ring of truth to it, that Diana predicted her own untimely death. 10 months before her death, Diana gave a letter to a former butler for safekeeping. In the letter, she wrote, quote, "This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. Redacted is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for Charles to marry." End quote. On April 9th, 2005, 7 years after Diana's death, Prince
just a
Charles
paparazzi
married Parker Bowles,
being
who is now Her Royal
paparazzi.
Highness the Duchess of Cornwall.
That's weird. I mean, there's no way around that one. That one is weird.
I mean,
I don't know what's going on
it
there.
could very well be a coincidence. I think it's very, she's in a situation where she is not on great terms with this family, probably a little paranoid about her own well-being. So I feel like it all stacks up. And by that, I mean, she clearly predicted that, it's not going to go well for me. But I don't know that it was orchestrated.
I'm just pointing out the obvious and undeniable fact that it's weird for someone to put in writing the exact method of how they would die.
Did her brakes go out?
No, they didn't go brake failure. You're right. That's true. It wasn't brake failure.
No.
They were in a.
She might
It
have
was an
just been
accident
paranoid.
in a car,
Debunked.
and we don't know who the redacted person is.
Oh, she
But-
shouldn't have redacted it.
I don't think she redacted it. I don't think that's how it
Okay.
works.
I see.
Diana's
else
worries
did?
about being murdered were exacerbated by the fact that she believed her former bodyguard and lover, Barry Manicky, was similarly assassinated in a car crash. In 2004, NBC aired a video featuring Diana talking about her affair with Manicky, describing him as, quote, "the greatest love I've ever had. It was all found out, and he was chucked out. Then he was killed. I think he was bumped off."
I don't think that he was, but I think,
So obviously, like you were saying, she was.
I think with all the shit that was happening with her behind the scenes, she may have gone into conspiracy mode.
Very suspicious, rightfully so. I guess you could leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean, she's probably terrified for her own life.
And
Yeah.
honestly,
I
probably
still
a good
tend
reason.
to believe dude was hammered. He was driving a car. Don't do that.
Can't be doing it.
I could see why this would get the gears turning and all the conspiracy theorists out there.
Sure.
Firing up their engines, they say.
Yeah. If something tragic happens to me, even if it is very suspicious, don't even bother talking about it. Just move past it. Talk about how much I loved my funny little cat and Sarah. And Sarah, sorry I put Obi first.
But then conspiracy theorists will say that you were being coerced to say, don't look into my suspicious death. And then they will in turn look into your suspicious death.
Conspiracy theorists are a bunch of fucking losers.
After examining
like flat earthers.
175 different theories surrounding Princess Diana's death, Operation Paget concluded none had any basis in reality, determining the crash was, after all, a tragic accident.
Yeah.
Diana was beloved the world over, both as an advocate for the sick and oppressed and as a role model for women everywhere. In her 1995 interview with the BBC, Diana tried to explain the antagonism she'd faced while part of the royal family. Quote, "I think every strong woman in history has to walk down a similar path, and I think it's the strength that causes the confusion and the fear. Why is she strong? Where does she get it from? Where is she taking it? Where is she going to use it?" End quote. Unfortunately, in the case of Diana, Princess of Wales, the answer to those questions will remain unsolved.
While it is tragic that getting entangled in the royal family did ultimately lead to her death, it was because of that royal family entanglement that she was given the platform to be a role model to women all around the world. And she used that platform to be a philanthropist and help people as opposed to tearing them down. So if there is something to focus on, I would focus on that.
Yeah. Let's dismantle the monarchy. Who needs it? The fact that it was revolutionary for her to be kind is really something to chew on, huh?
Holy shit, yeah.
So, anyway, see you next week, everybody.
Like 95% of the royal family has grass. Yet I'm excited for the new Sims 4 pack, which is about royalty. So yeah, my ultimate theory on what happened with Diana is just like a combination of a drunk driver and the paparazzi being absolute fucking piranhas. I'll see you guys in the next one, but later. And next BuzzFeed Unsolved is gonna be the last BuzzFeed Unsolved episode to react to. Yay!